It's the Mike Tech Show, show number 857. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Mike Smith. Thank you very much for downloading and subscribing to the show. Please visit the main website at miketechshow.com. You can email me questions and suggestions for show topics at miketechshow@gmail.com. Please don't forget to visit my YouTube page for all the videos from all the shows, and that's youtube.com/Michael Smith MTS. And please don't forget to click subscribe when you watch the video. I really appreciate it. This show is brought to you by Instant House Call. If you are an IT pro or an MSP, this is what you need for your remote support. Instant House Call provides unattended and on-demand remote access. You can try it free by clicking the link on my website at miketechshow.com. Don't forget to use the promo code MikeTechShow for your free 15-day trial, and you can just go directly to instanthousecall.com. The show is also brought to you by MagnusBox. This is the best online backup service that you can provide for your customers. It's easy to become a partner. They have great pricing. They support all the operating systems. They're HIPAA compliant. And you get all of the same features that a paying partner has. And you can get to kick the tires and try it out. Just go to magnusbox.com. When you sign up, make sure you tell them, hey, you heard it on the Mike Tech Show, because you will get free white labeling for your company and 50% off the platform fee for your first 3 months. That is magnusbox.com. Okay, so let's start on what the topic is tonight. And it sort of wrote itself for the beginning of the week. I was starting out doing a restore from a new client that hadn't had a chance to introduce them to MagnusBox. And I'm going to talk about that because they used the Microsoft backup, and we were very lucky that we were able to do a restore. And with that, I realized, wait a second, there is another, it's called Safety Scanner, another utility that you may not know you have if you want a second opinion on any kind of an infection on your computer. How do you disconnect a machine from Microsoft Azure Active Directory? So again, here we got Microsoft. New client who's a listener, who I remoted in and helped. I'm going to tell the story. Windows 10 networking issue. Again, Microsoft. And then I have listener emails where Microsoft 365 and Teams, the big outage, I have a link to that. And then also SharePoint drive mapping. All of this is Microsoft. So for tonight, it's all things Microsoft. And I will go over these links. I'm going to switch to my screen and bring up my test system at Pennsylvania office. This is my test computer. And as a matter of fact, it was the original computer that Carrie Holzman built for me years ago before the beasts. So I turned it into a test system. So let's begin with a great link here. If you have a computer that you're not going to be a reseller, you're not going to be a partner, you just want to have Windows 10 and you want to back it up. Well, this is the way to do it. And you can use the feature that I'm going to show you right now. If we just let's go to Control Panel. Even in Windows 10, I have to go to Control Panel. If you take a look at Backup and Restore Windows 7, it's the legacy backup. This is where you can do an image. You can just set it up, create an image, and do a backup and select when you're going to back it up, once a week, whenever you're going to do it. So what I want to do right now is this website. The first link for tonight is from windowscentral.com, how to make a full backup of Windows 10, but more importantly, how to do a restore. So you can go over all the steps. What's really nice, and this takes you through each option in creating a backup. Well, we ran into a new client who their system crashed. And they didn't know why. It would not boot again. Now, it's interesting. It was a Dell server, but running Windows 10. Now, they also have another Dell server that's a real server, and it's a domain controller. And here, this system just had a single function of filing these files that they create once a week on this box on their network. So, knowing I got remote access to the server system, found out everything about this computer, then armed my son with a Windows 10 bootable drive. They had external drives with the backup, and I had them plug that backup drive in the server I remoted into, and I could see that the backups were there, although a week old, and they had no problem with that. So the error message on the screen was how it was the drive failed on the RAID. There's a RAID 1, but it didn't kick over. And the drives were mechanical, and I armed my son with two 2 terabyte SSDs, because if we're going to get in there and we're going to replace mechanical disks, we're going to make sure that they're SSDs. So he plugged it, took off the 2 drives, put the 2 in, booted up from a USB Windows 10. And what you do is you repair your computer. Then you pick troubleshoot. Then system image recovery. And that's where you plug in that drive, and before you even start it, pick Windows 10, and it should find it. And then you pick which one you want, and then you start the recovery. And that's it. Click finish, and less than 2 hours, that was it. Boom. Complete restore from a system backup image. And we were able to do it. So what I wanted to arm listeners with, if you have a single system and you want to back it up this way, all you need is an external drive, and you can use what's built into Windows to back up the system. So this does not help you for disaster recovery, but you may not need it. Disaster recovery is for getting the system, getting the files off this out of the office and online, which is what I want to do with MagnusBox with all my clients. So guess what? They're going to continue to do this, but we're adding MagnusBox to this system and to the server and to another workstation that's critical. So by me restoring this, showing what we can do, being dealt with the hand we were dealt with, they've now become a retainer client. And that was on Monday. I just had a meeting with them on the phone today to just seal everything up. And that was great. So knowing your stuff, knowing where to find it, and knowing how to do it, boy, that makes a big difference. Especially when you're trying to negotiate a new client. Okay. Microsoft Safety Scanner, and there's a download, but I noticed something. If I just type MRT and run, I get the same thing. So here, the Microsoft Windows malicious software removal tool. So I'm going to go yes. And this is just, hey, you want a second opinion. So I'm going to have a link where you can download it, but I bet you it's already installed because I just ran MRT and it just ran. So I'm going to go next. I'm going to do a quick scan. You could do full, you could do customized. Well, let's do a quick scan. And right now, it's scanning my system. And you see the start time, 7:47. So why not? Hey, it's free. It's included. It's with Microsoft. And, you never know what it's going to find. Now, I've ran this once, and this system gets hardly used, but we use for tests. So let's see what happens here. And hopefully this view looks good. By remoting into my this system, I was able to be able to lower the resolution so it looks better as I record the video. So, but even if you're just listening to this and it's an audio podcast, don't worry about it. All the links are in the show notes at miketechshow.com. And what this is doing is just, it's going through currently scanning, and it's going through all the files very, very quickly. And it's a little over a minute. And it's probably going to finish in, 1 minute 17. There you go, 1 minute 17 seconds. You can view the results of the scan or just click finish, and that's it. So I wanted to show everybody that. So it's the Microsoft, they call it the Microsoft Safety Scanner, and you have a 32-bit and 64-bit. Okay. So I love when a listener reaches out and needs help with their network or with a server, or they have a client that they want me to help them with. That is great. And please continue to do that. Well, this week, a listener reached out. He's got 3 systems, and they weren't sharing properly. So I remoted in. I had him go to my website and get instant house call for, just connecting on the spot, on demand. And I made sure I was connected on all 3 systems at the same time. And then demonstrated how I troubleshoot if one system can't see another one, or first thing you do is what IP address are all 3 computers. And I tried to find the best site to put as a link for sharing files between computers. But the first thing you got to do is make sure you can ping all of the computers. Make sure that they're all directly going into the same switch, and do some basic troubleshooting. So I made sure that everything was working. Now, what you need to do is you can go to the folder you want to share, right-click the properties, and I always go to advanced sharing. The demonstration here clicks to share, but I like to go to advanced and then give everyone access to the share. So that's that's what I wanted to do. Hold on, hey, computer, wait until the show is over, and I will answer. Okay. So it is no problem. There's no issue. And photo, you don't need to delete that. That's okay. He asked a question about tech vets. So anyway, I just don't, I will, I'll talk about that, after the show. All right, let's get back. So make the share available to everyone. Then you got to assign read-write privileges in the security tab. So now you're sharing, and once you do here they're going through the advanced share, which is great. Then you click permissions. I found this to be really complete on a lot of the things I was doing. And then click security, and this is where you can edit. And I would add everyone. And once I added everyone and then gave them the full access, because we didn't need any detailed security. Once you do that, and that's what this step is actually doing. You got everyone. You click apply. Now you have to share over the Windows 10 network with no password, because you got to go in the control panel now. And this is almost exactly what I've done here on all three systems. I made sure that all three systems had these settings. And then once I did that, we were able to share based on the name of the computer. So once the sharing is set up and you have all of the network permissions correct, now you can browse by the computer name and see the exact share names. And that's what this article does. So I think it's a really, I'm going to copy it and put it into the, right here. There we go. So this is, I think, a nice basic Windows 10 networking. And, everything applies here to Windows 11 too. Really, maybe just, the menus look a little different. But I thought this was really good. So once we did this, we were like 45 minutes. We had everything working great. All right. Something that I am being put through by SureWeb, who I recommend for Exchange hosted. If you don't want to go direct with Microsoft, I use SureWeb. They're my Microsoft reseller. If you came to me as a new client, you wanted Microsoft, I would actually walk you through buying it through SureWeb. I'm what they call an advisor. So now, with Exchange 2013, they are going end of support April 11th, 2023. Because it's reaching its end of support, SureWeb has to upgrade the clients. And I have a stack of clients that are still on Exchange 2013. So I wanted to throw that out there in case, I don't know if you're with AppRiver or whoever you got clients with, if anybody's on an Exchange that is an older version, it's coming to the end and we got to go through the upgrade. So that's kind of a pain. And I've been dealing with that this week. And again, because of Microsoft. So you see the theme here with everything. So let's see. Going over to the list, there's more. Oh, okay. No, we're not there. Where is... Hold on. Let's pause. So what I want to do now, I have a client that needs to use a laptop for personal use, and I need it to disconnect them from Azure Active Directory. I have never done that. So this was a first time for me, and I had to do some research, and it was very, very simple. So I have a link here that shows you what to do, but you got to make sure that you've backed up documents, anything in downloads, documents, desktop, copy them all to a safe place. And then you just go to the settings, accounts, other people, and you can then see that they're connected to Azure, and you could just literally, here, you pick Access Worker School, and on the left panel, it's connected to the Azure Active Directory domain. You just click disconnect. It takes a few minutes. You have to be a local administrator. So one of the things I've learned, whenever I'm disconnecting or doing something that's involving Active Directory, whether it's Azure or whether it's a local server, I create a local admin account and then make sure that I have the account and the password. So now I logged in to the organization's account that we needed to disconnect. And when it asked me for permission, I had to give it a local admin. And then once I typed in the admin account name and the admin password, it worked for a few minutes and then came up with restart now, restarted the computer, was all set. So create the local accounts first. And as a matter of fact, we're going through this with another client, and I'm using the profile wizard, where all their clients were already working remote, but what the pandemic showed and demonstrated, they no longer need the office and that physical server. So I've migrated all of their files to SharePoint, and now I want to get all of their laptops. There's only like a dozen employees. I got to get them disconnected. So before we do that, I create a local admin account just for us, just for my son and I. Then I create a local account that's not the server account. Let's say the employee's name is Tracy. Well, I make sure I create a Tracy local account with a password, and then ran the profile wizard to really demote the computer from the domain, but preserving all of their profile, and it transfers it when it asks you which account. You pick the local account. So very, very cool. All right, 2 emails I'm going to get to, and the first one was sent in by Kate. This is what caused the recent huge Microsoft 365 and Teams outage, and it was they were doing an update and sent some bad commands to a WAN router, and that screwed everything up. So, wow. And this was on January 25th, so only a few days ago. Massive outage for Microsoft, and most of this, I believe, was in Europe and Asia. So nobody was able to log into their Microsoft 365 services for several hours. That's harsh. That's very harsh. So this is a good article, and boy, is this what's to come in the U.S. now? Is that what's going to happen? You know, where just someone doing a bad router command, and that's what we're at the mercy of. So I wanted to share that, and I want to thank Kate for sending me that link. This is an email that I'm going to read from Anthony, and he goes, it's about SharePoint drive mapping. Hello, Mike. Sorry, haven't caught your show live in a while, but listening offline while I can. One of the episodes you were talking about was trying to map the SharePoint drives to the computers, and wondering if you knew about these 2 options in SharePoint. And he has a picture below, which I'm going to look at. You can sync any SharePoint document library to the computer that you want. I don't want to sync it to the computer library because the hard drive's not big enough to hold everything. So that's one. And yes, I do know that. It's the same thing as mapping a drive, and even better actually, because I found way years ago, before they had these 2 features, that mapping a SharePoint drive always breaks and it's not consistent. On these 2 options, I have switched to the add shortcut to OneDrive, because this saves me a lot of time when you get a new computer for somebody and you reconnect their OneDrive. All these shortcuts will still be there. The other sync option, you would have to resync all of the SharePoint document libraries on their new profile, which is a pain if you're doing a bunch of new computers for people. FYI, if you try out the add shortcut to OneDrive, give it a good few minutes before it shows up in OneDrive. Not sure why it takes a bit, and just keeps hitting refresh or close it out and it will show up. I have to test both of those, and I'm going to use a laptop with the admin account for that for that client, and I'm going to try a couple of the mappings, because this is the very client that we're disconnecting them from the server and then going to add everything to have everybody access SharePoint. Now, they don't do a lot of file transfers. Everything goes through like the one main admin, and she posts the files up. So not everybody needs direct access. So this is not a big thing. I have them already started training them on just using the shortcut link, and they do everything with the browser, and they can upload and download whatever they're working on. So it's not a direct link. But now I have a client that, as a matter of fact, the one that I've disconnected the Azure machine, I want to be able to have their SharePoint literally mapped. And the sync might work now that I'm thinking about that, just to have it where I don't think they have a ton of files, and this way it can like be with them on every system. So I may try that, and that might actually work. I couldn't do it with the one client where, they have 400 gigs of files, but here we're only talking a few gig. So the sync may actually work better for client A and not client B. So it all depends on what are we talking about on size here, and what are we talking about, how many different sites. So within SharePoint, I'm learning more about SharePoint than I had ever hoped I would. And it's just, now I'm just being thrust into that world. So anybody that can ever share SharePoint tips, send them my way. I would appreciate it. That is it for tonight's show. I want to thank everybody for downloading and staying subscribed. I really appreciate it. And remember, help support the sponsors: Instant House Call, Magnus Box, and of course, Fab's Auto Backup 7 Pro. Link is always in the show notes for all my affiliates, all my sponsors. So really appreciate it. Don't forget to sign up for Discord. It's free, it's easy, and that's where the forums where we share information for the Mike Tech Show. That's it. And of course, that invite link is also in the show notes. And I get a lot of feedback on wanting the show notes duplicated on YouTube. I don't have the time to do that. That's never going to happen. All you have to do is go to MikeTechShow.com, and there's your notes. So that's easy peasy. So why? I don't want to duplicate my work. I have enough work for the post-production and getting this all done than to duplicate show notes, because you don't want to go to another site. That's never going to happen. So just go to MikeTechShow.com, and that's everything you need. And you can even click on that. I have a link that you can click on for the Mike Tech Show that's embedded in the graphic of the main banner on YouTube. Just click on it. That's it. See everybody next week, same time. Oh, 2 things I didn't talk about. Oh, here we go. Go Eagles. Oh, man. They beat the 49ers. They're in the Super Bowl. So they're off this week and then the following week. So if you tune in next Thursday night, I will have Eagles apparel on. Definitely. But something else happened today, which is good. The Phillies, and this is a big thing in Philadelphia, the trucks were loaded from Philadelphia with all the gear and all the supplies, 2 tractor trailers. making their way to Clearwater, Florida, which is 15 minutes away from me. And one of the main reasons I'm here because of spring training baseball. And they are coming down. So that means pitchers and catchers are reporting soon. And I am a happy camper. That's it, everybody. See you next week. Bye-bye.